Let me tell y'all what's going on because it's actually a really sad case. However, it's sad, but the law is the law, and we just have to figure out what's going to happen. But let me tell you, because there's a lot. There's a police report that's out there. I want to go over that, but let me just tell y'all what's going on. All right. So we have two teenage young fellas. Okay, they were both 17 at the time. Let me go get Austin photo. Austin Medcliff. Let me put his photo up too, because maybe I won't be giving you guys full justice without putting this photo up. Okay. So this is Austin. Hold on. Oh, this photo is kind of blurry. Hold on. So the guy you see here on the screen is Karmelo Anthony. I think he might be 18 years old now. The guy that he stabbed to death is Austin. All right, this is Austin Medcliff, okay? So let me explain what happened. Let me just explain what the detectives are saying happened. All right. So Austin and Karmelo, let me move this right quick. Karmelo Anthony and Austin Medcliff, they were both in high school in Frisco, Texas. That's like right outside of Dallas, all right? So Austin Medcliff, the white young fella, he attended Memorial High School, and Karmelo Anthony attended Centennial High School, okay? Who has ran track? Raise your hand if you have ran track and y'all used to meet up in a general location for your track meets, whether it was your school, the other person's school, or maybe even just another school that neither one of you guys belong to. Anybody ran track? I ran track, so I'm very familiar with meeting in places that actually was not your school. So if you ran track, you kind of know. So anyway, so they went to different schools. However, the incident took place April the 2nd of 2025, okay? During a track meet at David Q. Kendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Frisco police confirmed that Anthony Karmelo was taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder, felony after stabbing Austin. According to the public available arrest report, the confrontation happened under the Memorial School tent, okay? What happened was, report says, Karmelo, the black young fellow, was sitting under the tent. Even though he was from Centennial High School, he was sitting up under a tent that allegedly had Memorial High School on it, okay? Austin, the white young fella, told him that he needed to leave because he didn't go to Memorial. Now, the only reason why, allegedly, the reason why he was sitting up under there is because he was trying to get out of the rain and he was on his phone. Austin didn't care. Austin, like, you don't go to our school, you need to leave, okay? So the reports say they went back and forth, arguing with each other. And Karmelo, the black young fella, allegedly reached into his bag. Austin allegedly started touching or pushing on him. And then Karmelo allegedly pulled out a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest, okay? Now, it says that, again, it was raining, and that's the reason why Karmelo wanted to sit up under the tent in the first place. Now, it's also been said that Austin and his friends, his brother, he is a twin, right? He's an identical twin. They was actually at the concession stand getting them something to eat. When they came back is when they saw Karmelo sitting up under the tent. So when Karmelo went up under the tent, allegedly wasn't nobody there. Or if it was, it wasn't a whole lot of people. So he just sat on the bench, like on the corner, and he just was trying to get out of the rain. But when Austin and his brother and some friends came back to the tent. That's when they saw him. They asked him, do you go to this school? When he says no, they told him he had to leave from underneath there, right? So now, again, I'm going to pull up what the police report actually states. Let's see if we can do that right quick. And I'm just going to read it verbatim. And I'm also going to talk about some alleged stuff right now. And the reason being is because they sealed the records. So right now we're going to be going off of like just what was said on some news and, you know, things of that nature. All right. It says on Wednesday, April the 2nd at around 10:05 hours, Officer Fisher was dispatched to the 6927 Stadium in Frisco, Collins County in regards to a stabbing. The note stated, it was kind of blurry. The note stated an athlete had been stabbed in the chest, was unconscious and not breathing. When I arrived, the crime scene was already marked off and a suspect was in custody. I began asking people if they were witnesses to anything. I made contact with Hunter. Hunter is Austin's twin brother. And they scratched out some of the names because these names are people that, you know, like maybe possibly witnesses that they don't want no one to know who they are just yet, okay? But Hunter is the twin brother. They were both breathing heavily and crying due to the nature of events. They were with the coaches on the field and it was pouring down raining. So the detective here definitely made note that it was pouring down raining. We made the decision to relocate to a locker room just to the east to get out of the rain, okay? So once in there, things calmed down a little bit. However, they were still hysterical and could not really talk. In there, I learned Hunter was the brother of the victim, all right? Again, twin brother of the victim, Austin, all right? That's who Hunter is. I attempted to ask them both what had happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, but he stated he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened, and he stated they were all sitting under the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent when another male who he did not know walked over and started sitting under their tent. Then he said Austin, which is his brother, the victim, told this male that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. He said during this time of arguing, the male was reaching around in his bag that he had. It was at this time the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin and then left the scenes. This was all I remember when he was talking to me. After this, I then stood by with 3 athletes, witnesses until the CID arrived and interviewed them. I was then relieved by an SRO and went back to patrol, nothing further. So this is a cop, and he made note that it was pouring down raining so bad that he actually had to leave from inside the locker room in order for them to be able to take a report, okay? So he definitely made note that there was a lot of rain, okay? All right, I'm gonna play the one with him and his mother. And I want you to take note of something that he says. And I think he also says it again on the news, but you know, they have since closed down the documents, so there's not a whole lot that's still out there. But let's listen to what he says here.
I was mad. My son is not here anymore, and I don't understand it. Just tell me about what happened today. I don't know. I got a phone call from Hunter. He was screaming that Austin had been stabbed. I was at work, and so I drove. I work in Grapevine, so I drove up to the hospital straight away. I actually beat the ambulance there. Yeah, I saw them to have him come out. He was on a lot of machines, and it didn't take long for them to come in to say that he had passed. So, not sure, senseless act of a boy that was in the wrong tent, and my son doing the right thing by telling that boy that he needed to be removed from where he was.
Now, y'all, I'm gonna try not to start being so judgmental, but baby, oh my goodness, she talking about her son was doing the right thing by telling a boy that he need to be removed because he was sitting up on the wrong tent. What lack of empathy, but let's continue.
Was, and just doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's just because the kid was mad, my son is not here anymore. And I don't understand it.
Tell me about Austin. What do you want people to know about your boy?
He was the most amazing kid. Oh, so smart. He had college football guys looking at him to play in college. His goal was to play in college. He just wanted to play football. His life was going to the gym and working out and being a leader on his football team. And he just had such ambitions and a drive that it's hard to find in a kid. And he's just
But he definitely didn't have no empathy for a kid trying to get out of the rain, okay? He had all that other stuff, but he definitely didn't have no empathy for a kid that's trying to get out of the rain. But let's continue.
Good spirit. And so many kids loved him. And his brother lost his best friend.
They're twins, right?
Yeah, identical twins. Yeah. They've been like, they are the best of friends. Like, just, I'm so worried about my son because he's going to have to face this world alone now because he had a brother that was with him the whole time. And now he's going to have to do it alone. And I'm just so worried about him. I really am.
Was Hunter with Austin Kevin?
He was.
Now, I'm just going to say this, like, you know, y'all know I'm very opinionated, but baby, if my child is no longer here, and y'all know that they went on a lot of news stations, I'm talking about probably 4 or 5, if not more, talking, baby, I wouldn't even be able to talk, man. I'd be so broken. I don't give a dang on if I still have one and one is gone. I'm bawling. Do you hear me? Like, I don't understand how some of these people can come out here. Anyway, let's continue, child.
They made him go away when they were doing CPR on him, but he was there when he was stabbed and he was holding, I guess, the wound to keep it from, he was trying to save his brother. But I think he said he saw when he took his last breath and before the CPR came back in. So for what I heard, he was unresponsive for 5 minutes. They were able to revive him a little, but I think it was too little too late.
What can the community do for your family?
They need to support the kids at the school. Austin was loved by so many people. They need to know that there's other people out there for them and not against them, you know. And Frisco Memorial has got a football program it's in a process, and we want everybody to know that it's a family and they're there together. So, but just to put your arms wrap around the support. Says Hunter. Did you want to talk to him?
Oh, man. Thank you.
The brother seemed more torn up than the mama. I mean, they are twins, but the mama, in my opinion, like, baby, if something happened to my kid, like, I couldn't have no camera in front of my face because, baby, if it was, I'm snot-nosed, ugly crying. You hear me? I just don't understand the mom, but the brother, that's his twin. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand, you know, they may have a closer relationship than the mother and the son.
Good. We just got a little altercation, and that's really it. But he has a good heart. Everyone knows. Everyone around here knows he's a great kid. Just one mistake from that dude, and just took my brother. He didn't deserve it. No one deserves a loss from a family like that. I know people that lose their family members all the time, but I just didn't know it's gonna be mine so soon. My best friend, my brother, my whole life. But if y'all could just like, not y'all, sorry, just like thank y'all for just comforting us in like the Frisco area has been comforting my family and me. I just really appreciate everything that everyone's done. It's a really hard loss, but we're gonna get through it with my family. So we'll just stay together. I mean, our relationship is really the tightest I've ever seen in somebody, like between two human beings. I mean, we did everything together, clean the dishes together, do the yard work together, sports.
I think he's going to get into trying to explain what happened. If he don't on this one, I know he does on another one, but I want y'all to hear how he actually is going to say that, you know, my brother told him to get out. He wouldn't move. And my brother pushed him out. Okay, hold on.
Name anything in the world, it's always us two and one thing. So you're always just basically one person.
You guys just a few minutes apart?
4 minutes.
Austin was first by 4 minutes. He got stuck in me.
So that's technically your bigger brother.
Yes, ma'am. He does a lot of big brother stuff around. He's always on my back. Even if I'm in the wrong, he'll always take my side no matter what it is. So it's just really heartbreaking to see someone that cares for you that much and does everything, even by your side, no matter what, just pass away like that.
Your mom told me that you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, what happened?
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive.
I want y'all to pay attention to the words that he used, right? Because the defense is going to do exactly this. He said, we ask him to move, meaning not my brother asked him to move. We ask him to move. Let's go back a little bit. You got to pay attention, meaning that he was involved. Okay.
Our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless.
He started getting aggressive and talking reckless, right? So, and the reason I'm pointing these things out is because now we're talking, if when he said he started getting aggressive, they all, you know, a lot of people say Black people get aggressive when we talk back and we don't comply, when we don't just do what people just want us to do, right when they want us to do it. That's being aggressive. And talking reckless could have simply been, which we don't know exactly what words was said, but could have been, I'm not moving, or something like that. And, you know, to somebody like Austin or to Hunter, that's talking reckless. Let's continue.
And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move. Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around this.
Austin grabbed the kid's backpack. Okay, let's go back. Austin grabbed his backpack.
Reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move. Austin grabbed.
My brother stepped in and said, you need to move. So right there tells me that it wasn't between the brother and Karmelo in the beginning, okay? It sounds to me that this may have been between Hunter or maybe another one of their friends and Karmelo in the beginning, because he said, my brother stepped in and said, you need to move, okay? Let's go back to, we asked him to move. And he says, he always have my back, even if I'm in the wrong, all right?
My back. Even if I'm in the wrong, he'll always take my side no matter what it is. So
he'll always take my side no matter what.
It's just really heartbreaking to see someone that cares for you that much and does everything, even by your side, no matter what, just pass away like that.
Your mom told me that you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, what happened?
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move.
We asked him to move.
He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move.
My brother stepped in and said, you need to move.
He's like, make me move. Austin grabbed his backpack.
Austin grabbed his backpack. So Austin grabs Karmelo Anthony's backpack.
The kid, I tried to whip around this as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So just that's just what I saw. And I tried to help him, but
it was just senseless.
It was really senseless. Really, I don't know why a person would do that to someone just over that little argument. It's just crazy in this world nowadays how people just up and do that. Like a man has a family. That man has people that care about them all the time, and he did everything for our family too. He was just
okay. So now I'm going to jump this one, right? Because hold on, let me see. Because he says something quite different on another interview. Hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure he's not.
Everyone knows around this area the impacts of what he does for football and what he does for family.
Okay, so I think it's this one right here. He says something totally different.
Terrifying, gut-wrenching, incomprehensible. I think I'd like to just start. I'd love to just start with tell me about Hunter. If you could, Megan, tell me about your son.
I think I can speak for her for a little bit, see if she just comes down just a little bit. But as me, I know I'm a little more, spontaneous. I like to do stuff all around and just get out of line sometimes. And, Austin's always there to check on me and keep me straight so I wouldn't get in trouble and do anything like that.
Hunter and Megan, whenever you feel ready, jump into the conversation. If you never feel ready, that's completely understandable to me and everybody else watching. Hunter, thanks so much for being able to do this today. Just a little more about your brother, Austin. From what I understand, I think he has it in his social media bio, 3.96 GPA student, certainly definitely into football. And it looked, when I was looking into him last night, he was very interested in being recruited to play football in college.
Yes, sir.
So both young fellas was star athletes at their school, okay? And they were both being looked at for scholarships for being smart, intelligent-wise, and athletes, okay? And when I say both, I'm not talking about the two twins, which they probably were, but Austin, the one that ended up unalive, and also Karmelo, they were both intelligent athletes, okay?
He was very highly recruited, just like coming out of his junior year. He's had a really great year, and everyone on the team, coaches, everyone knew around the area just knew that he was about to do big things in football. But besides his GPA, man, that dude was extremely smart, always in the books. He just came to him real easy and just.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit for him to start talking about what happened that day. Okay.
What I was gonna say, but he's just gonna be so missed by mostly our family. But this
the circles got tight, and this hit really close to home.
What I was gonna say, but nation, I would say.
Hunter, I know you were there.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Megan. Take your time. Hunter, I know you were there when it happened. What can you tell us about what happened at that track meet? How did this?
Now, I want you to pay attention to the first conversation that he had about, we started arguing with him. My brother had to step in. He grabbed his book bag. Now we're going to hear about some shoving and pushing, okay?
How could this thing that seems like is not on the menu of possibilities could happen? Again, I was at a track meet, by the way, on Tuesday. This is not something you think could ever happen. How did it happen?
So it was a really bad storm in the morning, and they had a lot of delays. And me, my brother, a couple of kids were walking back from the field house of the middle school because we attended that middle school when we went to middle.
So again, if you listen to the last one that he did with his mama, it sounded like they were already sitting there and Austin just walked up and sat down. But now you hear Hunter explain how they were walking back from the field house and Karmelo was already sitting up underneath the tent, okay?
The field house of the middle school because we attended that middle school when we went to middle school. And me, my brother, a couple of kids were walking back from the field house of the middle school because we attended that middle school when we went to middle school. And we were saying hello to old coaches and catching up with them. And then we're walking back to our stand. We put our tent up so all the bleachers were right there. We're not wet from all the rain. We come back, we sit down, and this kid said something behind me. I've never met this kid in my entire life. I've never knew who he was.
So they left. They was gone somewhere. Then they come back and they sat down under the tent. And he says this kid said something behind him. Now, we're going to continue to listen, but the kid was actually on the phone talking to someone else. But let's continue to listen.
Said something just inappropriate and uncalled for. And I turned around and asked him who he was. He started getting really aggressive. my brother stepped in. He started being, how he always is.
So again, you see the altercation started with Hunter and Karmelo first. He just said it out of his mouth, right? My brother stepped in. He said that again. So he said that Karmelo Anthony said something inappropriate while sitting behind him, and he turned around and asked, "Who are you? Who are you?" Okay.
Old coaches and catching up with them. And then we're walking back to our stand. We put our tent up so all the bleachers were right there. Were not wet from all the rain. We come back, we sit down, and this kid said something behind me. I've never met this kid in my entire life. I never knew who he was. Said something just inappropriate and uncalled for. And I turned around and asked him who he was. He started getting really aggressive. My brother stepped in. He started being, how he always is with me, just brothers, just having my back.
My brother stepped in, and he just started being how he always is, always was, just having my back. My brother stepped in. So again, it started with Hunter and Karmelo.
Brother stepped in. He started being, how he always is with me, just brothers, just having my back. And things started getting more like higher intensity. And the kid said some.
Now I'm gonna go a step further, okay? Now, if the brother stepped in, meaning that Hunter was arguing with Karmelo first, and the brother stepped in. So the fact that the brother stepped in, I don't think that means that Hunter stepped out. So now you got two big 200+ pound dudes arguing with a guy that was about 40 pounds smaller. He was like 160 something pounds. She said, Amora, all I hear is buzzwords, so they will appear in the public eye as innocent. He described the angry black male. When he was talking reckless, it means I'm above you. I'll be back. What? He dying? What are you saying, Victoria? I agree with the first part. I don't understand the last part, though, sweetheart. So
intensity, and the kid said some like aggressive stuff, like reckless stuff, and also try to handle the problem. And
Austin tried to handle the problem. They deemed him as a problem because he wasn't complying to them. Okay, he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. So Austin handled the problem. I know I probably shouldn't be. Okay, let me focus. Let's just get through this because let's just get through this. The way the mama looking at the son is like, please don't say. Anyway, let me get through this.
yeah,
Austin was always one to step up.
Austin was always the one that stepped up.
like reckless stuff, and also try to handle the problem. And yeah,
Austin was always one to step up. He always was one to step up and be the person that would do the right thing.
Do the right thing. Double team one guy because they wanted him to move from underneath the tent. Oh, okay.
And he was doing the right thing by saying to this gentleman that you're not supposed to be in this tent. This is like because they have personal items there.
a lot of stuff gets stolen and just like that, just precautions and stuff.
They're 17 years old at the time, right? There's coaches on the field, and I'm sure there was other adults around. If he wasn't supposed to be there, let me finish listening to this. Let's go.
Our coaches always told us don't let other schools like mess with our stuff. Just sit around our tent area, and we set that up for the girls' track every meet we had. So it's just like he knew he wasn't supposed to be there, and he was just a tragedy what happened.
And then what happened, Austin? After your brother stepped up, what happened then?
He stepped up over there, asked him to move, got aggressive. He grabbed the bag, and then I whipped my head around, and then all of a sudden I see him running down the bleachers, grabbing his chest.
See, the reason why he said he whipped his head around, the reason why Hunter is saying he whipped his head around, because he don't want to have to admit that he saw his brother push him, because he said that before, that his brother pushed him. Okay. So now he whipped his head around. The whipping the head around is, I didn't see my brother put hands on him. That's what he's trying to avoid right now. I whipped my head around. They kill me with that. For the moment, I just closed my eyes and turned my head, and I didn't see this or I didn't see that, right? I whipped my head around, and then I just saw him running from the bleachers. Yeah, okay. You whipped your head around when your brother is arguing with another team? Yeah, okay.
And I see him running down the bleachers, grabbing his chest.
Let's go back to the
He wasn't supposed to be
whipped
there.
his head
It's
around.
just a tragedy what happened.
And then what happened, Austin? After your brother stepped up, what happened then?
He stepped up over there.
Now, I don't know if you hear a person in the background, but that's a lawyer, from what I was told before. That's a lawyer or a family spokesperson kind of guiding him a little bit. If you heard the male voice off to the outside of the frame, they're trying to guide him to be careful on what he's saying.
Asked him to move, got aggressive, he grabbed the bag. And then I whipped my head around, and then all of a sudden I see him running down the bleachers, grabbing his chest. He just blood rushing out. You know, he said, he got stabbed. First I froze for half a second. I didn't know what to do. And then I saw him about to fall. I went to go over there. I grabbed him. I see this stuff.
Yeah, I understand. Best I can to understand.
Yeah, it was. You can see, you can picture what happened when what was coming out of his chest, and
yeah.
Y'all can visualize that stuff. I don't want to put down my mom right now, but I pushed my hand on there, trying to make it stop, and I grabbed his head and I looked in his eyes. I just saw his soul leave, and it took my soul too.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to ask you one last question. I've seen interviews with your husband, who I can hear in the side, by the way. I think he's there in the room with you. I saw an interview last night. Okay, someone else.
So you hear Hunter tell her shh, because and I'm just going to interpret what I feel like she was about to say. He said, I think that's your husband. I can hear him off to the side. And she says, no. So she's saying that that's not him. And then she wanted to say they're not married. But Hunter stopped her like, shh. I don't think he wanted them to know that either they were divorced or that it was an attorney that was sitting there or a family spokesperson. So Hunter literally tell her to be quiet right in the damn camera, you know?
I think he's there in the room with you. I saw an interview last night. Okay, someone else. Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
But I have seen interviews with your husband in the last 24 hours, and it was remarkable to me that I heard your husband say within hours of this that he forgave this other young man, and he got there so quickly. And I honestly don't know that I could.
I don't know if y'all see that Hunter is trying to talk to the mother. I'm not sure what's this about, but it just don't sit right with me. However, it could just be him trying to console his mom, but I don't know. It's just like he's whispering something,
This other young man, that he forgave this other young man, and he got
like right now he's saying something to his mother
there so quickly.
And somebody would have to know how to read lips to know what he's saying, because I have no clue.
Man, and he got there so quickly, and I honestly don't know that I could. And I just want to see, and I don't know if there's a right or a wrong place to be, especially as quickly as this has happened. Megan, how do you feel on that front today?
I am not like their dad. I am so angry at that boy. It's just not fair. That's all I have.
I understand.
I'd like to say
it's not fair.
it's
forgave, not forgotten, but I'm not at that point yet to forgive that kid for what he did to my brother. Because, 17 years, my best friend just there in the blink of an eye, I lost him. So I'm not at that point to forgive and forget, but eventually I will. But I pray for.
So on this one, you know, I don't know if they went back and took out he pushed him out the bleachers, but baby, I got it now. Stop playing because it was in there before. Let me go back to the live stream that I did almost a year ago in reporting this, because he most definitely said that his brother pushed Karmelo before and he said, Karmelo said, touch me again and see what happens. All right, so let's go back to the video that I did almost a year ago in covering this story. Now, I don't think news people would do that, go back and edit their videos and cut out some pertinent information. I don't think they would do that, but then you just never know, because now it seems kind of weird. All right, let's take a look at, I did about 4 of them. Let's take a look at this one. Sorry. Hold on. Let's get to the interview part. And I got more of here, let's put it up here. I got more of the police report. They've cleaned up the social media in regards to this. So I blogged on this 1 year ago, April the 9th of 2025. Okay, a little over a year.
Police report in a minute, but let me just give you my spiel, and then we're gonna read the police report.
Let's read
these students. Next,
here we go.
I'm gonna skip some of the stuff that I don't find important. The FPD call notes indicated that an athlete had been stabbed. The suspect was reported as being a black male wearing a gray hoodie and a blue sweatpants. I immediately left my office and I ran across the Stanley Middle School parking lot toward a southwest entrance into the stadium. As I entered the stadium, 2 high school age students informed me that the victim, which is the white guy, was on the north end of the stadium by the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent. I did not identify these students. Next, I proceeded toward the north end of the stadium, which is the visitor side, on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see the Memorial High School tent with multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived onto the north side bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness. The individual that was pointed out to me was a black man wearing a gray hoodie, sweater, and dark colored Nike pants. The suspect at this point was on the track on the north end. Hold on. I know it's kind of, let me see if I can make it like this. Well, it's tiny. You're gonna have to work with me. It's tiny, y'all. It's tiny. Hold on. Let me see if I can make it a little bit better, though. So y'all can see what I see. Hold on. All right, there we go. I gave the suspect instructions. Oh, wait, excuse me. There was a chain link fence that separated me from the suspect. I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect, which is the black kid, Karmelo, said verbally out loud, "I was protecting myself." It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident when he made that comment. Okay. I asked him if he had any weapons, and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied. Towards an area where there was an opening in the fence that led off the track. While walking him off the track, the suspect also said, he put his hands on me. I then detained the suspect in handcuffs, handcuffed behind his back, and had him to sit down on the ground. Officer Ricky had arrived on the scene at that time. I conducted another pat down on him and then searched his person after he gave me consent. There was no weapons found in that location. While the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect. So he called out, I have the alleged suspect apprehended. The suspect, which is the black guy, Karmelo, he responds and says, I'm not alleged. I did it. Now let me just stop right there. You can definitely tell that this young fella has never been in no type of trouble, because had he been in any type of trouble, he would have known to keep his mouth shut, okay? But he yelled out, it's not alleged, I did it. So he owned it, he admitted it, okay? At least you wouldn't have done that, nevertheless. Next, Officer Ricky and I walked the suspect to patrol vehicle 2412. This is Officer Ricky's patrol vehicle, which was on the northeast gate of the stadium. As we were walking to the squad car, the suspect, the black kid, Karmelo, was emotional and said, he put his hands on me. I told him not to. I did not question the suspect about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle, right? So meaning Karmelo gave this information on his own. I searched his person once again, and I had him to sit in the back seat of the patrol car. While the suspect was in the back seat, I noticed fresh blood on his left finger. I verbally acknowledged that I saw blood out loud so that it would be captured on my body-worn camera. It should also be noted that the suspect asked, is he going to be okay, while he was in the back seat? So Karmelo asked, was Austin going to be okay? I then identified the suspect. So now he identified who Karmelo Anthony was. He provided his name and date of birth verbally as Karmelo Anthony, black male, with a date of birth of blah, 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 which I ran through the FPD dispatch. Officer Hancock then arrived on the scene and remained with me and the suspect at this point. Karmelo was then checked via eSchool database for the FISD student to also confirm his identity. So they did a double check to find out that he did indeed tell them the correct information in identifying himself. It was a match, okay? On what he told them and what the school system, it was a match. Next, I was advised by Sergeant Hollow to transport the subject to the Frisco PD jail. Officer Hancock and I transported him to jail. Again, I did not question him about the incident, okay? No question. Upon arrival to the jail, Karmelo was escorted into the intake area. FPD jail staff changed him into jail attire, you know, those cute little jumpsuits that I said I don't want to ever be in. So he had to go dress out, and I remained with the jail staff the entire time that he was changed over. The clothes that Karmelo was wearing was placed in an FPD paper evidence bag. The clothes remained in my possession from this point on. Upon Karmelo being placed into a jail cell, I continued to keep possession of his clothes. I returned to my patrol vehicle along with Officer Hancock, and we placed Karmelo clothes in the back trunk area. I drove my car out of the Sally Port and parked the squad in a crime scene, in a FBP patrol parking area or whatever. Karmelo clothes remain in the trunk. And the reason why they're saying this because what they're trying to say is that nobody else had access to his clothes. So they can't, they didn't tamper with evidence is what he's trying to say. So anyway, and then they ended up, it says the crime scene technician, Kay Dillard, then took possession of the clothes. So basically they try to say they had eyes on his clothing until it was turned over to a crime scene technician, okay? I added my body-worn camera to the case. I have no further information to report, right? Now, there's supplementals. Now, this was done by, let me see the first guy. This was done, and he is being, let me say this right quick. He is being charged with first-degree felony. I'm not done though, you guys. He's being charged with first-degree felony. This was officers Cortez Adacor, whatever his name is, Cortez. This was his statement. Now we are going into another officer's statement.
I think it's Adaro or something like that. I don't know how to say that guy's name.
This is Officer Taylor, okay? Now, Officer Taylor says, give me a sec. Officer Taylor says, let me blow it up. On Wednesday, April the 2nd, I was assigned to work a patrol in the city of Frisco at approximately 10:02 hours.
Now, let me just stop for a second and say this. All of this information right here that I'm reading off has been scrubbed from the internet, okay? So when the judge made a decision to close this case, close all documents down, this police report was also closed down. So I'm glad I still have this because we got all the documents for this police report early on before they closed the case. So this is important information that you may not find on a lot of channels unless they were covering this a year ago, okay? All right, let's continue.
Responding to the report of a stabbing, Let me just see if he said anything different. All right, he says, when I arrived on the scene, I grabbed a roll of crime scene tape from my trunk and proceeded to the visitors' bleachers where dispatch advised the victim was. While I was walking toward the visitors' bleachers, I was approached by a witness who identified himself as blah, 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 began telling me what happened. And I asked him, where did the stabbing occur? And he advised it happened under the Memorial High School pop-up tent in the visitors' bleachers. I immediately informed Sergeant Otis where the witness stabbed visitors' bleachers. Okay, wait a minute. So wait a minute. Okay, now I gotta ask myself a question. Let me write that down. Because if it was the visitors' bleachers, okay. So I may have to correct myself because I thought it was the other boys' school, but now they're saying the visitor bleachers. But I'll get back to that in a minute. Anyway, so it happened under the Memorial High School pop-up tent in the visitors' bleachers. I immediately informed Sergeant Otis where the witness stated the stabbing occurred and gave him the crime scene tape to start securing the crime scene. I then had moved to the walkway under the visitors' bleachers out of the range to further speak with me. The following is a summary of my contact with blah, blah, blah. Advised he was sitting on the Memorial High School pop-up tent and was near the victim, okay? He says, Austin and the suspect, who was later identified as Karmelo Anthony, was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Wait a minute. So they went to the same school? Austin and the suspect, who was later identified as Karmelo Anthony, was from Centennial High School and was sitting under the Memorial High School tent. Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under their tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag. Wait a minute, you guys. Let me finish reading because wait a minute. So anyway, Austin had told Anthony that he needed to move out from under their team's tent, and Anthony grabbed his bag, opened it, and reached inside and proceeded to tell Austin, touch me and see what happens. No one really thought Anthony really.
So now, do you see how in the police report, right, how it says Anthony grabbed his bag? But in this, in what we just read, I mean, excuse me, what we just heard, Hunter says his brother Austin grabbed his bag. We're going to go back to that one, but let's continue, okay? Let's just continue. So right now we're hearing two people grab the bag, but let's continue.
Had a weapon in his bag, and Austin proceeded to touch Anthony. Well, okay, let's finish. And then Anthony told Austin to punch him and see what happens. So he said, you touch me and see what happened. When he called his bluff, basically, he didn't think that he would do it. So then Anthony said, punch me and see what happened. A short time later, Austin, the white kid, grabbed Anthony, the black kid, to tell him to move. And Anthony pulled out and it's scratched out. So we already know what it is. And well, he pulled out whatever that says, recalled as a black knife, and stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. So he stabbed him and ran. Austin began grabbing his chest and telling everybody to get help. Blank advised he did not know Anthony's name, but stated another Memorial Track member was friends with Anthony and could identify Anthony. Described Anthony as a black male, skinny with a possible goatee, short puffy hair, and wearing Centennial High School clothing. This concludes my contact with this person. I then was instructed to start a crime scene log. I retrieved a crime scene log from my patrol vehicle and began starting the crime scene log. I was later relieved by another officer who took over the crime scene. I logged off. All right. So now another officer, let's see if he said anything different. After hearing more dispatch call information, I drove to the scene. While en route, I heard Officer Cortez say that he has a suspect in custody. When I got on the scene, I looked for Officer Cortez and went straight to him to hold the security with the suspect that he had handcuffed and secured in the police squad. Multiple witnesses were providing statements to officers where the stabbing occurred at Memorial High School track. So what I'm getting, you guys, they were both visitors to that school. It seems to me that they were both visitors to that school. They went to the same school, and they were both visiting Memorial High School track. That's what I'm getting, but let me finish reading, you guys. Let me finish reading. This is my first time reading this like you guys, okay? Only a short time later, Officer Cortez and myself escorted the suspect to the Frisco Adult Holdings Facility. Anthony was transitioned off to the jail staff without incident. A jail paperwork was completed, and they took the investigation there. CID did. All right, now this is another officer, Frisker, Alvin Fisher. Let me see if he said anything different. He did. Okay, it says, when I arrived to the crime scene, the crime scene was already marked off and the suspect was already in custody, honey. I began asking the people if they were witnesses to anything. I made contact with Hunter, blah, blah, blah. They were both breathing heavily and crying due to the nature of the event. They were with coaches on the field and it was pouring down raining, okay? Now, mind you, it was pouring down raining, and that is why they was under the tent in the first place, okay? We made the decision to relocate to a locker room just to the east to get out of the rain. Once in there, things calmed down a little bit. However, they were still hysterical and could not really talk. In there, I learned that Hunter was the brother of the victim. So now we are talking to the twin brother. The white guy is a twin. Hunter is Austin's twin, okay? So now they're talking to the twin brother. I attempted to ask them both what happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, but he stated that he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened, and he said they were all sitting on the bleachers. Now, this is the twin brothers' account. They were all sitting under the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent. So now it's not even his tent. See, media is something different, baby. Media is something different.
So when I went over this last year, because this is me talking on my video from last year, right? Last year, I was unclear with the setup, okay? But since doing this video, I learned that neither one of the students, it wasn't even a school. It was just it was like just a track meet facility or a track meet area. Okay. So neither one of the fellas went to that school. They both were at two different high schools and they met up at this place. Okay. So I've since learned that. All right, let's continue.
When another male who he did not know walked over and sat under the tent. Ooh, baby, this is getting juicy. This is getting juicy because it wasn't their tent. It was a Memorial High School tent. Again,
which Memorial, we found out that Austin and Hunter did go to Memorial High School.
Let me read this again. I attempted to ask both of them what happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, the twin brother, but Hunter stated that he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened, and Hunter himself said they were sitting on the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent when another male, the black guy who he didn't know, walked over and sat under the tent. Then said Austin, the white guy, the victim, told this black guy that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. Austin and the male went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and Austin, the white guy, stood up and pushed the male. It gets juicier. It gets juicier. Because his twin brother said that Austin, the guy that died, stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. Baby.
So, and you already know when someone pushed to try to force you out of an area, that ain't no light push, but let's continue.
We didn't know that. We didn't know that he already pushed him before the stabbing. Let's go. He pushed him to get him out of the tent and said during this time of arguing, during the tent, and Blank had said during this time of arguing, the male was reaching around in his bag. It was at this time the male took out the knife and stabbed Austin and then left the scene. This was all I remembered when he talked to me. After this, I then stood by the three athlete witnesses until CID arrived and interviewed them. I was then relieved by an SRO and went back. Now,
this is a statement that the officer said that he got from Hunter. So Hunter told him this. This is Hunter's statement right here that his brother pushed him out from underneath that tent, okay?
This officer, which is Alvin Fisher, he said the brother, Hunter, said that Austin pushed the black guy. Let's continue. Now we have Officer Crawford, Mike Crawford.
But now, do you see how the police, now this is taken on the day of, right? And most likely at the scene. So Austin admitted to this officer, Fisher guy, that his brother pushed him. But did you see how he was talking to the news and he said, I turned my head for a minute and the next thing you know, I saw my brother grab his chest and he was bleeding? Do you see how he mysteriously turned his head and left out the part where he's already told the officer that his brother put hands on Karmelo? Do y'all see that? He literally left that part out. Matter of fact, he said he turned his head for a minute. Yeah, exactly, Sassy D. He trying to change the narrative. Okay, that's why you should be careful without talking to the detectives before you get an attorney around you, right? Because baby, you'll be switching all your words up. So, let's continue.
He said when he arrived on the scene, he observed the medical personnel and several bystanders standing next to the subject, later identified as the victim, Austin. The medical personnel were actively engaged in life-saving measures. I observed a crime scene was created around the area and began collecting the names and contact information of the bystanders. Okay, he was getting the witnesses. I then met with Officer Whitsell and directed him to begin a crime scene log as he was getting the needed paperwork. I took over the responsibilities of monitoring a witness to the event. Ultimately, the witness was taken to another area out of the rain, and Officer Schatz took over the crime scene log, and I forwarded information about the bystanders to him. All right? Let me just stop there for a minute. Let me read some of y'all comments. We're going to continue reading. His twin brother admitted his brother put his hands on Karmelo. Yep. Austin had no right to tell anyone to leave a Frisco ISD-owned tent. Sure, not physically attempted.
So what have we found out so far with what we knew a year ago versus what we know now? Both brothers were involved. It started with Hunter. Austin jumped in and Austin put hands. Now, we don't know if Hunter put hands because Hunter has not admitted that, right? But what we know so far is both of them were involved. So now we're looking at 2 against 1. We're looking at 2 against 1. And this is from Hunter's own admission. It was literally 2 against 1. He said, my brother did what he always did, right? And that is jumped in to help him out. So Hunter and Karmelo was the one that started arguing first. And then Austin jumped in. And Austin is the one that put hands on Karmelo, allegedly, per the brother-owned admissions to the detective. Okay, let's continue.
Yep, I agree. I think they went to the same school because what I heard, this is not the first incident they had. Well, in this police report itself, it says that they were both students at Centennial High School and that they were at Memorial High School.
So again, that's a correction. I read that wrong. Only Karmelo went to Centennial and Austin went to Memorial. Okay.
Okay. And it was Memorial High School 10. But let me keep reading, okay? Because this is actually news to me. Because the media is trying to make it seem like it was the white guy's school. Even not just the media and some sport commentaries as well were saying that the black guy was in the wrong because you don't sit up under a rivalry school's tent. But let me keep reading because, this is my first time reading this police arrest report, okay? So now another officer by the name of Officer Showers. And if I get the name wrong, honey, please forgive me, y'all. Y'all know I ain't good with names. I'll jack him up in a minute, okay? So now his take on it was upon his arrival, he tried to get an updated location of the suspect. I could not see Officer Cortez. When I arrived, Officer Cortez informed me over the radio that he had the suspect in custody. At this time, I turned my attention to the victim. Multiple FISD trainers were already performing CPR. I could see blood on and around the victim. At this time, medics had arrived on the scene and started beginning life-saving measures. I coordinated with the officer on the scene to secure the location. By the time the students and FISD staff had cleared the area, I used crime scene tape and began to tape off the area. It began to rain harder, all right? Mind you, it was raining hard. The reason why the black guy was sitting in the tent, and also, should I say, the reason why all of them were sitting up under the tent because it was raining, all right? All right, so it began to rain harder. At this time, Sergeant Otis and myself moved a Memorial High School tent over the medics and the victims to attempt to preserve any evidence that we could. A Memorial coach approached me and informed me that he was with a student who claimed to see the entire altercation. Now, this is somebody that said they didn't see the entire altercation. I told the coach to stick with the student and that we would need to get him to the police station to give a statement. The student quickly informed me that he knew where the suspect threw the knife and pointed me into that location. I located the knife with Sergeant Otis and could see blood on the knife. I quickly used my city-issued phone to take pictures before the rain could wash the blood away. Sergeant Otis located a blue tarp and we decided that we would cover the knife without touching it in an attempt to preserve any evidence. It was windy and raining hard. Once we positioned the tarp over the knife, I reached down and grabbed the backpack left in the stand to weigh the tarp down and threw it up by Sergeant Otis was positioning the tarp. It was later discovered that the backpack I threw onto the tarp was the suspect, which is Karmelo's backpack. It was the only Centennial High School backpack located within all of the Memorial High School backpacks in that area of the stand. Now,
okay, I think I explained it here.
The reason why he pointed that out, because he's trying to say he was from Centennial while everybody else was from Memorial. But let me continue. After securing the scene with crime scene tape and attempting to preserve as much evidence as possible, I assisted officers with locating another possible witness. Officer Wetzel was maintaining scene security while I was assisting other officers. After the medic transport the victim, I relieved him of that post so he could go back to the patrol. I maintained scene security until I was called, until the call was all clear. Photos would be uploaded to the crime scene folder and my body cam would be downloaded at the end of the shift. Now, here comes another officer. Pemberton says, he said, upon arrival, several officers and medical personnel were attempting to the victim who was laying in the ground of the stadium bleachers. I coordinated the Frisco PD response in trying to establish a crime scene. The knife reported to have been used in the assault was located by another officer in the bleachers. Shortly after my arrival, a large downpour of rain began. I directed several officers to use a tarp found at the scene to cover the location of the knife. I remained at the scene until the victim was transported and the crime scene was established. Now, another officer, Newton, he says, I arrived prior to the ambulance coming and waited for them to arrive. They arrived at 10:46. This happened also fast, y'all, also fast. Okay, 10:46 hours with the victim, Austin, who was brought into the trauma bay treatment. Okay, at 10:53 hours, Dr. Cho pronounced Austin deceased. So from 10:02 to 10:53 hours. So 51 minutes later, dude lost his life. Okay, so, or should I say he was pronounced deceased. Once he was pronounced, staff stopped treatment and disconnected the cords and tubes from the machine without moving anything from the body itself. While on the scene, I took possession of the clothing worn by Austin and maintained possession of these clothing, okay, until the CIS dealer took them from me, all right? While on the scene, Officer Landon requested assistance in lifting the sheets off the body to take photos. I then placed the sheets back when completed. I then stood by in the room for security while Officer Landon, Officer Hernandez, all these officers took additional photos. At one point, they rolled the body and removed shorts from Austin that were also bagged, okay, and which stayed in my custody until I turned them over to the proper authorities. At 1:24 hours, the family was allowed into the scene to view the body. What a tragedy, okay? What a tragedy. Let's continue. What a tragedy. Tragic. Now, let's go to this one. It says, I took note during the time in which were scanned to the report and booked as evidence. I turned in the crime scene log to be scanned, okay? At the conclusion of the call, I took my camera off of convert mode and went to turn it off. At that point, I learned the camera had failed to activate due to it being on convert mode. I did not see the indicator light. So basically, he's saying his body camera didn't pick up. Okay. Now, Officer Higgins said he was working the desk, honey. He was a donut eating officer. Okay. He was working on the desk. And at approximately 10:42, he got the call, blah, blah, blah. He said, I gave an involuntary witness. Said, okay, he didn't do that. Guess what? All right, let's continue. I want to talk to the people that did the contact witnesses. Okay.
Did I call that joker a donut eating officer? Good Lord, Amor.
Says Officer Craig. He said, upon arrival, I first made contact with Officer Cortez, who was standing next to a marked police vehicle. He had detained a suspect. He was in a patrol vehicle. I then responded to the vehicle scene. That was in the North Bleachers. As I walked up, I noticed Frisco Fire department personnel was attempting to provide life-saving measures to a subject identified later as Memorial High School, Austin. Now, wait a minute. Now, right here, it says a Memorial High School, Austin. So, Lord Jesus. So, it does appear, okay, let me just keep reading. We need to find out, was he a Centennial High School or a Memorial High School? I'll find out in a minute. I'm going to look up. Anyway, it says he was later identified as Memorial High School, Austin. Okay. As officers worked the scene, I was asked to respond to the stadium medical locker room area and keep the following Memorial High School students, witnesses separated until detectives could speak to them. So while with them, I was told to take their cell phones from them and later turn over to another officer after being relieved. I was asked to make contact with all the FISD athletes that have been placed on the school. So basically, here's a whole witness list. Memorial Frisco. Okay. So a whole lot of different people that they scratched out their names. All right. So let me just see, does this say anything? It says, I was also met by the following coaches who advised.
That is a long witness list, you guys.
That they witnessed the incident. Hold on. And it said, witness the incident. It says, this coach heard suspect confess to the stabbing. This coach heard the suspect confess to the stabbing. Okay, basically they saying they heard the suspect or they witnessed the incident. Now, let me see, does it say anything else? No, that's it. So now, you guys, let's have a conversation. Wait a minute, before we have a conversation, let me find out what's going on. Give me 1 second. Now, with $1 million bond, this guy is from Centennial. This guy is from Memorial. He didn't like that this guy was sitting under his tent. So he confronted him, told him to move. This guy said, no, I'm not moving. This guy said, you better move. This guy said, move me. This guy pushed him in an effort to move him from underneath the tent. This guy said, put your hands on me and see what happened, or punch me and see what happened. This guy called his bluff, didn't think he was going to do it. This guy reached in his bag, grabbed out a weapon, and stabbed him. This is what we're facing. We have a victim who is now deceased, and we have another 17-year-old that is in lockup right now with $1 million bond that's claiming it was self-defense. Let me tell you the reason why this is crazy. So many pieces to the puzzle. So many pieces and so many questions. Why did Karmelo have a weapon? Why did he have a knife at a high school track meet? Why did he have a knife? Why did this guy tell him to move and put his hands on him and push him? Why did this guy take such drastic measures? Okay? Now, it's just tragic all over. However, it comes down to self-defense or went too far.
Hunter says his brother had asked Karmelo to move his seat because he was sitting under the wrong tent. A witness says Karmelo replied, "Touch me and see what happens." And when Austin grabbed him, Karmelo allegedly pulled a knife.
They asked him to move, and when Austin grabbed his backpack to move, take it, he stabbed him in the chest and killed him.
He's now...
See, again, Austin grabbed the guy's backpack, okay? So, I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that, in my opinion, that could actually go in Karmelo's favor. But there's also, there's talk about what is a threat versus what is a warning. And we're going to get into that, okay? We're going to get into that because he allegedly did say, touch me again and see what happened. Because when he said it the first time, Austin put hands on him, right? And this is per Hunter, right? Hunter says that he touched him, but then he said, touch me again or punch me and see what happened. And Austin pushed him, and that's when he went into his book bag and pulled out a knife, okay?
Austin Metcalf, a student, stabbed at a high school track meet near Dallas. According to the arrest affidavit, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony has confessed to the killing, saying he was trying to protect himself.
He knew how much I loved him, how much I do for him, anything. I do anything for him.
Hunter Metcalf says he held his twin brother Austin as he was dying.
I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So.
It happened at the district championship meet in Frisco. Hunter says his brother had asked Karmelo to move his seat because he was sitting under the wrong tent. A witness says Karmelo replied, touch me and see what happens. And when Austin grabbed him, Karmelo allegedly pulled a knife.
They asked him to move, and when Austin grabbed his backpack to move, take it, he stabbed him in the chest and killed him.
He's now charged with first-degree murder.
Just because the kid was mad, my son is not here anymore. And I don't understand it.
Austin is being remembered as an honors student with aspirations to play college football. Despite the shocking loss, Austin's father says he chooses forgiveness over anger.
I forgive the other person because the forgiveness is not for him. The forgiveness is for me, so I can have peace. His life is destroyed. My life is destroyed.
The arrest affidavit says as Karmelo Anthony was being arrested, he asked if Austin was okay. Anthony is being held on $1 million bond.
Okay, that's that.
And okay, so let me just talk. Okay, so I did this video a year ago. If you guys want to go back and watch that, you can. Give me the watch hours. You know, I love it. But it's so many moving pieces to this puzzle, and I'm sure we're gonna all get down to the nitty gritty, right, in court. Let me go over some things, all right, because what's considered a threat and what's considered a warning, and how does Texas view that? Let's look at it, okay? So now, of course, this did happen in Texas, and we are a stand your ground state, all right? Now, first of all, there are many versions of what happened that day out here. We just saw one while reading the police report, it is said that, alleged, how it's written, Austin put his hands on Karmelo at least 2 times. Touch me again and see what happens. And he touched him again. So at least 2 times, this young fella put his hands on Karmelo. However, is putting your hands on Karmelo in Texas, does that warrant pulling out a weapon? Now, in my opinion, I believe it started with Hunter. And the reason why I believe that, because Hunter's own words, okay? I believe it started with Hunter, and I believe that Austin jumped in to defend his brother, and I believe that they were both arguing back and forth with Karmelo. That's what I believe, okay? Now, if it comes out to be different, y'all know I'm going to say what it is, all right? However, let's go into some Texas law for a second, all right? And we're gonna talk about what's warning versus a threat, and we're gonna get into the whole self-defense case, all right? Here we go. So there was a little confusion the last time I did this video, which was April of 2025, and I didn't quite know where they were located, but now I know that they are both at David Q. Kendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Neither one of them went to that school because it wasn't a school, it was just a stadium. Austin went to Memorial High School, okay? That's the white kid. Karmelo Anthony, the black kid, went to Centennial High School. They did not know each other. Despite all these rumors out here that, oh, he's been bullying him forever and he had to guard himself because he was scared of them and this, that, and the other. They did not know each other. They had never, I mean, even if they had seen each other before, they hadn't had any interaction with each other before, right? That is what's being put out now, that they did not know each other. However, let's go get into the Texas law. So we all know that it was raining heavily out of there. How did we know that? 1, they were under a tent. 2, The detective made sure to mention that quite a few times. It was raining so hard that they had to move their investigation to the inside of the locker room because it was just raining too hard. And they had to put like a tent or a tarp over the weapon so that the rain wouldn't wash the blood away. So it was raining heavily apparently that day, okay? Now, we saw that there was a lot of witness, but we don't know who is going to be called and who's not going to be called. Now, again, I want to show you guys this because I just want to be transparent with you guys right quick. They did ask for the case to be closed, and it's because it became very racially motivated, okay? And so I can't get any documents, but I do want to pull this up for you guys just to let y'all know that your girl was trying. However, you can't get no documents. They ain't letting us get jack dookly dooley. All right, nothing. All right. Well, we can see the docket entries, but we definitely cannot see. They won't let us pull anything. But the attorneys, let's talk about the attorneys right quick. So for Karmelo Anthony, his name is Karmelo Sincere Anthony. That's his middle name, Sincere. But nevertheless, Mike Howard, and he's supposed to be a beast. And Greg Willis is the DA, and I actually heard he was a beast as well, okay, here in Texas. So the attorneys are Mike Howard. I am going to just right quick put up, before we get into this law, I want to put up the statement from Mike Howard. This is Karmelo Anthony's lawyer, and they say he run a very tight ship, okay?
Today's indictment of Karmelo Anthony is an expected and routine step in the legal process. An indictment is a procedural step that happens in virtually every felony criminal case. It's a document that lays out for both the prosecution and the defense what the prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court. An indictment simply means that a grand jury, after hearing only the prosecution's side of the story, determined that there was enough evidence to allow the case to move forward to court. That's all an indictment means. Karmelo and his family are confident in the justice system and the people of Collin County to be fair and impartial. Of course, Karmelo looks forward to his day in court. It's only in a trial that a jury will hear the full story, one that includes critical facts and context that the grand jury simply didn't get to hear. It's only in a trial that both sides get to present evidence and cross-examine each other's witnesses. This is why our justice system is based on the principle of a full and fair trial. That's because it's only in a trial that the full story can be heard and that impartial justice can be done. We expect that when the full story is heard, the prosecution will not be able to rule out the reasonable doubt that Karmelo Anthony may have acted in self-defense. Self-defense is a fundamental right guaranteed every American. The law is clear. When self-defense is raised by the facts, the law puts the burden squarely on the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the citizen accused did not act in self-defense. The law does not expect or require the citizen accused to prove that they acted in self-defense. It's actually the opposite. The law requires the prosecution to rule out the reasonable doubt that the citizen accused may have acted in self-defense. We understand that this case has sparked strong reactions. Please remember that there are real human beings, kids, on both sides of this case. We ask that everyone do as the law requires and withhold judgment until all the evidence can be heard in court. We are confident that when all the facts are presented and the full story is heard, the jury will reach the right conclusion and justice will be done.
That is his first and only statement, right? He did not come out again and said that he was not going to come out because he wants to play this in court and not out here for the public, okay? Now we're going to listen to the DA I think his name is Willis. Let's go back to it. I want to say his name is, oh yeah, Greg Willis, the DA. So let's listen to what he has to say about this case.
Earlier this spring, our community was shaken by what happened at a school track meet in Frisco. The violent loss of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. For weeks now, my team has been presenting evidence to the grand jury, and today I summarized that evidence, and I asked the grand jury to return a first-degree murder indictment against Karmelo Anthony, which they did. With this indictment, the case now moves formally into the court system. From this point forward, we'll continue doing our job both fully and fairly to pursue justice under the law. As for the scheduling of the trial, that will be up to the court. But when the time comes, we will be ready. Now, we know that this case has struck a deep nerve here in Collin County and beyond. And that's understandable. When something like this happens at a school event, it shakes people to the core. But let's remember that the justice system works best when it moves with steadiness and principle. That's what we're committed to, and that's what this case deserves. We're also mindful of Austin's family and everyone who loved him. Please keep them in your thoughts, and if you're willing, your prayers as well. Finally, let's remember that a defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law.
Okay, I guess that was the end of it. Okay, they're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So right now, and that's why, you know, I be strongly saying like Holly is innocent, Karmelo is innocent. You're innocent until proven guilty, right? However, that's where we are right now. So let's go over a little bit of Texas law, okay? Because Texas got your stand your ground. Their self-defense laws is a little bit different than a lot of other places, okay? So we heard the Mike Howard, the defense attorney, already kind of break it down that the burden of proof is on the prosecutor, the DA's office, the state, okay? They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Karmelo Anthony did not, defend himself in self-defense, okay? Now, Texas self-defense starts with Texas Penal Code Section 9.31. The law focuses on whether a person reasonably believed force was immediately necessary to protect themselves against another person's use or attempt use of unlawful force. All right. So the question would be, was Karmelo Anthony scared? Okay. And another question would be, would a reasonable person in the same situation believe force was immediately necessary to defend itself? Okay. Now, the word reasonably is everything. Reasonably. Would a person in the same situation reasonably believe that it was immediately necessary? All right. Now, Texas has a deadly force law because a knife was allegedly used and Austin ended up unalive. The case moved into deadly force. Texas Penal Code Section 9.32 deals with when deadly force may be justified. Deadly force is a higher standard than regular self-defense. A person generally has to reasonably believe deadly force was immediately necessary, which other words is imminent, right? Imminent danger, imminent death. But it means the same thing, immediately. Necessary to protect against another person use or attempt use of unlawful deadly force or to stop certain serious crimes. So for this trial right here, the legal question may become, even if Austin pushed or touched Karmelo Anthony, did that justify deadly force? So again, that is a higher standard than just self-defense, okay? Deadly force. This is where the state and defense will clash, all right? The defense may argue, which Mike Howard, the attorney, may argue, Karmelo Anthony was cornered by two larger size individuals. He was touched, then pushed, then threatened, or he believed his life was in some type of danger. That's what Mike Howard, the defense attorney, may argue. The state may argue a push under a tent does not justify pulling a knife out of your bag and stabbing someone in the chest. Okay? That is going to be the core courtroom fight. All right? Whether it was reasonably done, was it justified deadly force? All right? Now, let's break down a threat versus a warning, because we know per the police report and per, different news channels that apparently Karmelo Anthony says, touch me again and see what happens, or put your hands on me again and see what happens. All right. So let's go over a threat versus a warning. Now, touch me and see what happens. A warning. That's a warning. Touch me and see what happens. That's a warning. It discusses, a warning is when someone is trying to stop contact or create distance. Now, in my opinion, a warning and a threat, I guess they could be different. But anyway, a warning is when someone is trying to stop contact or create distance. Examples would be back up, leave me alone, do not touch me, I don't want to fight you, don't put your hands on me. Now, a threat is when someone communicates that harm may happen if the other person does or does not do something. Example, touch me and see what happened. So touch me and see what happened can be looked at as a threat, or I'll hurt you, or I'll stab you, or I'll shoot you, or you're going to find out soon. All right. So again, now touch me and see what happened can be argued both ways though. The defense may say that that was a warning. He was telling Austin not to put his hands on him. The prosecutor, well, of course, they're going to say that was a threat. He was escalating the situation while reaching into his bag. He knew what he had in his bag. Austin did not, okay? So this is why the exact words, the body language, the timing, and witness testimony all matters, okay? So it's not just as cut as dry as it seemed with just the words. It depends on the whole scenario, okay? So now what we know so far, based on public reporting and the arrest record, the evidence discussed so far includes the arrest record. This is the main public paperwork that's floating around on the internet. Now, I have not put the whole entire arrest record in there, but I will. I will put the whole entire arrest record in there. I'll get that. I'll do that either tomorrow or Wednesday. So we have the entire arrest record that was read off with the different officers' narratives and with summaries, alleged statements, and details about the scene. And furthermore, the statement from Hunter, okay? We have witness statements, Hunter being one of them. The reports include witness statements, accounts saying that Austin told Anthony to leave the memorial tent, that there were arguing going on back and forth between the two, and that Austin touched or pushed Anthony, and that Anthony allegedly pulled out a knife and stabbed Austin. All right. Now, Anthony's alleged statement is also publicly known. The arrest report includes alleged statement from Karmelo Anthony after the incident, including statements about, I was protecting myself. He put his hands on me. Okay. Now, another statement that he made was, is he going to be okay? That's why I have a problem with this first degree, but we're going to get there. We ain't there yet. Now, also the knife. They took a picture of the knife. So arrest report referenced a black knife and says a knife was recovered near the bleachers in the scene area. Okay. Now, we also know public knowledge that it was raining. Okay. It says that there was pouring down raining so much that the detective had to take the interview inside the locker room. They had to move around different areas. And then the tent also indicate that it was raining. And then the detectives had to move around to different areas to avoid the rain. All right. So what do we have? Frisco Police Department arrest report, Frisco Police public statements, Collins County, CBS the trial date reporting, and Texas Penal Code Chapter 9, self-defense and deadly force law, the Penal Code Chapter 19, the murder statute. Let's read the murder statute. What is it? First degree murder is what? Let's in Texas. Hold on. So in Texas, first degree usually refers to the punishment level, not a separate murder label like some states use. So when people say first degree in Texas, the clearer legal wording is murder. In general, punishment as a first degree felony in Texas. Under the Texas Penal Code 19-02, the state can prove murder in a few ways. For this case, the main theory are usually what the state must prove for murder. Now, we're talking Texas. Texas must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant intentionally or knowingly caused the death of another person. That means the state argues that person meant to cause death, or he knew that the conduct was reasonably certain to cause death, or intended to cause seriously bodily injury and commit an act clearly dangerous to human life that caused death. This matters in stabbing cases because the state may not have to prove the person specifically said, "I wanted them dead." They may argue that stabbing someone in the chest is an act clearly dangerous to human life, or committed or attempted to commit a felony. During that felony, committed an act clearly dangerous to human life that caused death. Now, the punishment range for first degree murder, if found guilty, is anywhere from, 5 years. So if found guilty in Texas, you could be sentenced anywhere from 5 years to 99 years or life in prison. And the court may impose fines up to $10,000. Now, because both of these fellas were 17 at the time this happened, the death penalty or life without parole has been taken off the table, okay? So again, life without parole and the death penalty, because it happened when he was 17 years old, is taken off the table, all right? Now, but 5 years? Okay, so if found not guilty of first degree, if found not guilty of first degree, and let's talk about the other degrees that he could be found guilty of. All right. So he could be found guilty of a lesser offense, and that would be manslaughter, which is usually when the state proves a person recklessly caused the death instead of intentionally or knowingly causing the death. All right. Also, Texas have criminally negligent homicide. This is usually when the state proves the person caused the death through criminal negligence, which is a lower mental state than recklessness. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. This could come up if the jury believed that there was an unlawful stabbing or assault with a deadly weapon, but the legal theory they accept does not support murder, okay? So a person can be found not guilty of murder, but still leave court convicted of something else if the jury is given other options and then they choose one, all right? Well, of course, we know the not guilty verdict is what, you get off totally free, right? If you found not guilty all the way around, or that the state did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt. However, they can also be sentenced if the jury comes back with a lesser offense, guilty of a lesser offense, okay? So if Karmelo Anthony is found not guilty of murder, that does not automatically mean every possible legal issue disappears. It depends on how the jury instructions are given. The cleanest outcome would be a full acquittal, right? However, that means the jury has to say that the state did not prove murder beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, in my opinion, I don't believe that they're going to be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And the reason being is because if it was intentional, why in the world would he turn around and ask, is he going to be okay? Because you don't intentionally, in my opinion, intentionally try to unalive someone and then turn around and ask, is he going to be okay? And we're talking a 17-year-old kid. We're not talking about some, 35, 40-year-old manipulating as con artists. We are really talking about a 17-year-old kid where their brain is not even fully developed yet, right? To the point where, that I would think that he could even think of wanting to intentionally do something to him and then turn around and have remorse and say, is he going to be okay? All right. So anyway, but there is another possibility. The jury could reject murder, but still convict Karmelo Anthony of a lesser crime, included offenses like manslaughter, criminally negligent homicide. So Texas does not have second degree. So what they would consider second degree would be like manslaughter. What? It says, no, Texas does not have second degree murder as a separate charge the way some states do. So Texas mainly use murder, which is usually punished as a first degree murder, meaning 5 to 99 years of life. Capital murder, which is the highest homicide charges in the state of Texas, involving special circumstances, such as killing a police officer, murder during certain felonies, multiple victims, a child victim under a certain age, etc. So he's not being even charged with capital murder, so that's out. Manslaughter, a lesser homicide offense. This means that the person recklessly caused the death. Punishment is 2 to 20 years. Criminal negligence, homicide, lower than manslaughter. This means the person caused the death by criminal negligence. Punishment is 180 days to 2 years in jail. So they don't have second degree murder. Okay. So murder, period, is usually punishable by first degree. So if they accuse him of murder, he's going to get first degree. I mean, if they find him guilty of murder, it's going to be first degree. All right. But if they cannot prove murder, that's when the other charges would come into play: manslaughter and criminal negligence. Okay. So I'm gonna say the scenario: two brothers. Now, just off the surface right now, because he used a knife, and I'm pretty sure that will come into play, him having the knife at the school. But we're not gonna get into that today. We're gonna get into that another day. So let me not go down that route. Okay, I got it. Truth be told, it came through this time, baby. Thank you so much. She said, hey, everybody. Hey, I see sis been busy. I've been catching all replays. Please enjoy whatever God may bring for you guys on today. Love you all. Blessings to each of you. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Appreciate that. I'm not going to get into the meat with, was he supposed to have a knife? We're not going to talk about that today. I just kind of wanted to explain the self-defense laws. And now I'm finding out that they have something higher than the self-defense, and that is deadly force. Okay. So when someone uses a knife, a gun, or force capable of causing death or seriously bodily harm, Texas look at deadly force under their penal code. So it goes a little further than just self-defense. I would think that would be harder. So let's go into the stand your ground, because y'all know Texas is a stand your ground just like Florida. And we know that George Zimmerman got off scot-freaking free, and Kyle Rittenhouse got off scot-free. And that was just, fighting or attempted to fight, because Cal didn't even get kicked with the boot. He actually got, he was getting ready to get kicked. So let's talk about stand your ground in Texas. Now it's long, so we're going to, hold on. We're going to let my little ChatGPT friend read it. Here we go. Stand your ground.
Yes, in Texas, stand your ground means you do not have a legal duty to retreat before using force or deadly force, but only if certain conditions are met. The biggest mistake people make is thinking stand your ground means I don't have to walk away so I can use deadly force. That is not what it means. Texas Stand Your Ground explained. Under Texas Penal Code 9.31 and 9.32, a person does not have a duty to retreat before using force or deadly force if 1, they had a legal right to be where they were. 2, they were not engaged in criminal activity at the time. 3, they did not provoke the person against whom force was used. And even then, they still must meet the bigger self-defense requirement. They must reasonably believe force or deadly force was immediately necessary. Texas law says the no duty to retreat rule applies under those conditions, but it does not erase the requirements for self-defense or deadly force. What stand your ground? Does stand your ground helps answer one question. Did the person have to retreat first? In Texas, if the person meets the legal requirements, the answer may be no. So the jury cannot automatically say, well, you could have walked away, so you lose self-defense. But the jury can still ask, was the force reasonable? Was the danger immediate? Was deadly force necessary? Did the person provoke the confrontation? Was the other person using or attempting to use deadly force? That is the part people miss. Stand your ground does not mean fight your ground. This is the line you should use on your live. Stand your ground does not mean start your ground, escalate your ground, or threaten your ground. It means if you are legally where you have a right to be, not committing a crime, and you did not provoke the situation, Texas law may not require you to retreat before defending yourself. But if you provoke the confrontation, escalate the threat, or use deadly force when deadly force was not immediately necessary, stand your ground may not save you. Deadly force still has a higher standard. For deadly force, Texas Penal Code, paragraph 9.32, says the person must reasonably believe deadly force is immediately necessary to protect against another person's use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force, or to prevent certain serious crimes like murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery. So even if someone has no duty to retreat, they still need a legal reason to use deadly force. That means a verbal argument does not automatically justify deadly force. A warning does not automatically justify deadly force. A push does not automatically justify deadly force. Being disrespected does not justify deadly force. Being somewhere legally does not automatically justify deadly force. The key question remains, was deadly force immediately necessary under the circumstances? Applying it to the Karmelo Anthony discussion. For this case, the defense may argue, Karmelo had a right to be at the track meet. He was trying to get out of the ring. He was not required to retreat just because someone told him to leave the tent. Austin allegedly put hands on him first. Karmelo believed he needed to protect himself. The state may argue, even if Karmelo did not have to retreat, he still could not use deadly force unless deadly force was immediately necessary. Being told to leave a team tent is not deadly force. A push or touch may not justify a fatal stabbing. If he threatened, escalated, or provoked the confrontation, stand your ground becomes weaker. Smooth read aloud version. Here is how you can explain it. Texas is a stand your ground state, but people need to understand what that actually means. Stand your ground does not mean you can use deadly force just because you chose not to walk away. What it means is this. If you are in a place where you have a legal right to be, you are not committing a crime, and you did not provoke the confrontation, Texas law does not automatically require you to retreat before defending yourself. But that is only one part of the law. You still have to prove the force was reasonable. You still have to prove it was immediately necessary. And if deadly force was used, you still have to prove deadly force was justified under Texas law. So in this case, the question is not only, did Karmelo have to leave the tent? The question is, even if he did not have to retreat, was deadly force immediately necessary? That is the difference between standing your ground and unlawfully escalating a confrontation.
Woo, it's going to be tough, y'all. It's going to be tough, but hey, again, this is going to come down to the defense attorney and the DA and evidence and witness statements, you know? So I'm sure there's a whole lot more that we have not been privy to because they closed down everything. But as for the law, I would just have to say, you know, and then we haven't even got into, was he legally allowed to have his weapon on the campus? We'll talk about that another day. However, I would just say for right now, I do believe that there is more that we don't know. And one of the things that I think they will be able to connect is that it wasn't just Karmelo Anthony against Austin. I do believe that it was Karmelo Anthony probably getting ready to be attacked by maybe I'm going to say one other extra or even more. Even more. So that's my theory. I'm not 100%, but it does sound like Hunter was involved. All right. But we're going to get down to the real nitty gritty, and y'all know I'm going to be there early. Oof. And I will be giving you guys play by play, but we're going to continue to talk about it up into that day because, you know, we do want to talk about the knife. We do want to talk about Hunter changing up his story because he did. And, you know, we want to talk about why did he even have a knife, right? Why did he have a knife? Why did he feel that? Why didn't he just walk away? We're gonna talk about those things, okay? We're gonna talk about those things. She said, like he was in fear of being jumped and by much bigger guys. Yeah, so we're not gonna talk about that today, but that will come up, and we will talk about that. We will discuss that. But for right now, we learned what stand your ground mean. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a right to just do whatever you want, but you don't have to retreat like some states require you to at least try to get away. Texas said, no, you don't have to do that, okay? You don't have to try to get away if you are legally where you are allowed to be and you're not provoking anything or whatever. Yeah, you don't have to run, okay? But we also talked about Texas does not have second degree. So it's first degree. Any murder that they find you guilty of have to be first degree or either capital murder. And we know it's not capital because he didn't do anything that raised to that level. So if he found guilty of murder, it would be first degree. If not, he have options. He has the reckless endangerment, and he also has the manslaughter, which is lesser sentences. Okay. I don't want to say what I think right now. Well, I ain't gonna say that. I would say it's just hard. I can't, you know, I can't even. Okay, I don't think that he's going to be charged. Excuse me, not charged. You could be charged with anything. Found guilty of intentional murder because I don't really think that he intended to do this. You know what I'm saying? Just like I don't think that Holly intended to do it. However, yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to say it right now. Let's just continue to follow this. Let's continue to follow this. But I still believe that people need to keep their hands to themselves. And this could have been very avoidable. You know what I'm saying? I think that if the twins had any compassion in their heart and it was raining out, I do believe that they wouldn't have been trying to kick him out from underneath the tent. However, if he was doing what Hunter say back there, making all type of inappropriate comments, which I don't know if I believe that. But, and the reason why I don't believe that because Hunter had already got caught up in some lies. Okay. He already got caught up in some lies. However, if he was sitting back there saying derogatory stuff, which I don't believe, then maybe they had a reason to kick him out. But I think that they should have got an adult because they just said they were 17 years old. They don't call no shots. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was their school tents, they don't call no shots. They were still underage to be trying to call shots. So, and I do not believe that a coach would have wanted to see them handle that by kicking that dude out from underneath the tent. Okay. I just don't think so. But anyway, we're going to close down right here because I don't want to get too far in it because, you know, we're going to try to break down the whole case. We are going to break down the whole case eventually, but just not in one live stream. Okay. So anyway, thank y'all for coming through on this one. If y'all got any questions, let me know. She said, yes. Why did he bring a knife to high school sport events? We're definitely going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the penalties that could bring or the questions that can, you know, the harm or the danger, because, you know, we'll talk about that, but just not tonight. But that is a good question. She said, and we'll talk about whether he thought he was going to be jumped by more than one. We'll talk about that. She says, I don't think he meant to unalive him. However, in sports, it's an unspoken rule to not sit in rival section. Yeah, but I don't think that sitting in the rival section is going to be considered in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that that's going to be, oh, no, he wasn't legally allowed to be there, because legally, there's no legal law. Like, and it's an unspoken rule, but an unspoken rule is not legal, right? So just because it's an unspoken rule, like a handshake thing, like we don't do that, that's not him not being legally allowed to be there. A lot of people get the legal system, the judicial system mixed up. They be thinking one thing and it ain't that, you know? She said, "More, please say you're not traveling alone to this trial." No. My husband will be with me. I was supposed to be going with another content creator, but nope. Jay will be with me. No. Y'all know Jay is not gonna let me drive no 4 hours somewhere by myself and stay. Especially not after being a blogger and got all these damn haters mad at a super chat. No, Jay gonna be with me and our little friend, okay? Especially now that I'm not under any type of anyway, chat. I still got my little friend, baby. She said that means nothing at a track meet, and my son's track meet, the kids mix and mingle and sit together as long as they don't miss their events. Okay. So we're going to bring that up in another date, but just not today. But y'all, the court case is like literally 3.5 weeks away. I'm super excited, but at the same time, I know I'm gonna be so tired because you have to go out there very, very early. And y'all know, it's gonna be hard, but I'm gonna be there. I don't care how much coffee I gotta drink. I'm gonna be there at least the first week. And then after that, we have our family reunion. So I may miss a week, you guys, because I'm gonna rent my Airbnb for a week, and then we go to our family reunion for about 4 days. And then we're gonna come back if the trial is still going on, which I do believe it will. Then we will go back up there. But we're going to miss 1 week. I'm still gonna blog on it, but I'm not going to be able to be in court for 1 whole week because we have our family reunion, and my husband already said we can't miss the family reunion. And I'm just like, well, anyway. So I will miss about 4 days or so. So about a week. All right. So we're going to stop here, and this is going to be a continuation thing. We're not going to try to shove all the news down in one live stream, okay? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and clean up this live stream a little bit and take out some of the unnecessaries so that it will flow properly. She says, so you got approved to sit in the court. So I didn't have to get approved, only media. So once they found out that I was a blogger, they said it's first come, first serve. No blogger has to get approved. I filled out that form, and they asked me what news channel I work for or whatever media outlet I work for. And I said, I'm an independent blogger on YouTube. And they said, this does not apply to you. All right. So with that being said, I will be treated just like the regular, but because it's such a big, high profile case, yeah, we just got to get there early. And I'm talking about early. If court start at 9, we might have to be like there at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, something like that or whatever, because people are definitely going to be trying to get a seat in the courtroom. So yeah, your girl going to be out there standing in line like I'm waiting on some damn Nike shoes to drop or some shit like that, or Black Friday sale. I might have to do a tent and sleep out there the night prior. Who knows? Now, I don't think it's going to be that wild. But we'll see, though. Now, if I miss the first day, I'm going to be crying like a baby because I definitely want to hear the opening and statements on both sides, all right? But nevertheless, y'all, I will be in the house. I will. Thank you for throwing super chats on this here live stream. Thank you, Hips and Thighs. Thank you so much for becoming a member. And Robin Kennedy, you as well. Thank you, Binky Bink, for the love. Michelle, thank you for the love. Vic says, Glenn, thank you for the love. And truth be told, thank you for the love. I do appreciate you guys. And I will be back later today around 7 or so for a different story. But again, I'm going to be cleaning up this live stream to take out the little extras or like when the ads play and stuff like that or whatever that I don't need in there. All right. Talk to y'all later. Love y'all. Bye now.
Because they can't make $1 without mentioning down one of our names.
Yay! She kept talking about that film.
Hoes over there.
She kept talking about that film. She kept talking about that family. She kept talking about that family. She kept talking about that family. That family. She kept talking about that family. Talking about that family.
These motherfuckers don't be wanting to listen on them. Because they can't make $1 without mentioning down one of our